Worrying reports from Crimea on the entire night shift at Titan chemicals plant in Armyansk evacuated from the facility. This might be a preparation for another staged provocation by Russia. Moscow seems to have no limits in attempting to falsify pretexts for further aggression. Afghanistan doesn't have access to nuclear waste. CNN released a new poll that indicated more Russian people are now for it, but it sounds like BS law. I saw that. Half of Russians say it would be right to use military force to keep Ukraine out of NATO. 43% of Russians said use of military force against Ukraine to join it to Russia would be wrong, while 36% said it would be right. The rest of the respondents said they didn't know if it would be right or wrong. Wait. What? So still more Russians. Wait, how do you write this article and then live with yourself the way that you live? So okay, so I'm right. One out of every 2 Russians says it would be right, while only a quarter say it would be wrong. I know, but that's vague as fuck. Because right now they're already strong arming Ukraine. They're already using military force in Ukraine to ensure that they do not join NATO. Whereas this is full-scale invasion, okay? Using military force against Ukraine to join it to Russia. Full-scale invasion and annexation of Ukraine. Why is invading Donetsk and Luhansk not counted as a real invasion when it's part of Ukraine? I personally think it is. I personally think that's an invasion. Like it's a baby invasion. Okay, you put your fucking soldiers in there, but it doesn't seem like I don't know, going into Baghdad, for example, right? So why doesn't it feel like the same? Why haven't people started dying in like active hot war thus far? Even though technically it is an invasion. If you're confused at this point about this, if you have this question, okay, the reason for it is because the boots on the ground that Russia has brought inside of Ukrainian borders is in a vassal state of Russia, basically, okay, where a lot of Russian people live and is controlled by Russian people, one of which is literally in Putin's party, and is a separatist territory that has, for the past 8 years, fought against the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian National Guard, for the past 8 years. Okay? So that's the reason why it doesn't feel like a real invasion. Do you understand? I know that a lot of people have different points of view on this. I have a different point of view on this. I think it is a real invasion. Okay? If you put fucking, military members inside of another country's borders that you are actively, saber rattling with, then it's no longer saber rattling. You've actually put fucking boots on the ground. That is the reason why I said I was wrong. Right? And by definition, it is. By definition, it is a incredibly aggressive move forward. But if you are thinking like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Where I don't understand why there's no war going on. Why no one has fucking died yet? Like, what the fuck's happening? I'm trying to describe that to you. The reason why is because they haven't actually encroached upon territory that is hostile towards their Russian military yet. Okay? Hostile towards their presence. There's active shelling going on, but they haven't fucking engaged in like real war at the moment. Dude, that's basically a narrative in Russia on state TV, etc. You motherfuckers watch state TV more than anyone else does, I think. I have no idea what the fucking Russian state TV narrative is. I don't even know where the fuck to even find that. But for some reason, all these dudes are like, they're bigger Russaboos than anyone else that they claim are like in the pocket of Russia. It's so strange. It's like, dude, this is exactly like the same State Department propaganda. When do you think there will be active participation of U.S. troops instead of only weapons? No, that won't. I don't think that'll happen, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But never forget that like Vietnam escalated to the point that it did because America knowingly sent military trainers and military equipment, and then some of those trainers got shot and killed. But there's a reason why there are no American trainers, or at the very least, no official American trainers on the ground inside of Ukrainian borders at the moment. Okay? And by that, I mean, like, I don't know who the fuck, like, they might have people, of course they have people there, like CIA and shit, but I mean, like deliberately sending, officially sending military members is different than, like, having contractors there, having CIA members there. You know what I mean? Like, that's entirely different. We're going to get to the Pentagon news. They do have Canadian trainers, though. We saw Canadian trainers yesterday. They do. Canada has sent in trainers. But nobody gives a fuck about, the Canadian trainers. If Canadian trainers die, what's Canada going to do? Invade Russia? Okay. Because America runs the show. Okay? Sorry, it's just the truth. Nobody gives a fuck about Canada. Canada is like literally the little kid behind America's little brother going like, I should fuck them up. I'll fuck them up for you, Dad. I'll fuck them up for you, big bro. Let me at him, big bro. And it's like, it's just America's controlling the situation. Okay. Does anyone have a fucking a YouTube link for the Pentagon one? I want to see that one. Bro, imagine valuing Ukrainian sovereignty. They would be much better off under Russian management. Ukraine will drift even more fascist, and the situation only propels that inevitability. I have talked about this already, and I do believe that, yes. People will get mad at me, but like I do.
Available to strengthen port infrastructure and supply chain resiliency.
No, not the press briefing. There's a Pentagon one too, isn't there? But I don't want a defense.gov one. I want to watch the fucking here.
To get back online quickly after such an attack.
So first, I don't think we're in a position to attribute these cyber disruptions that you're talking about. I assume you're talking about the various websites, the government websites that were taken offline. What I would just tell you, broadly speaking, Jen, is that we have provided
Hasan Battalion, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I got to pee. I'll be back in 1 second.
Cyber resilience training and assistance to the Ukrainians. I won't.
Dude, how would America train anyone in cyber resilience? We have no cyber security. Our fucking diplomats get owned by like free USBs. Okay, we have literally gotten owned. We have bases that are supposed to be top secret that have gotten absolutely fucking opened up to the rest of the planet because of Fitbit. Okay, we have no cybersecurity. We have no cybersecurity. If we teach Ukraine about cybersecurity, they're fucked. Okay, what is our cybersecurity?
To invade Ukraine, what will the U.S. do? Secondly,
what the fuck?
If Russia were to use nuclear weapons in this invasion, what would be the impact on the Korean Peninsula? Because there is a fear that North Korea will copy this. Any comment?
Yeah, I'm going to avoid speculating here and getting into hypotheticals, particularly about the potential use of nuclear weapons, Jenny. What we've said all along, two things. One, Mr. Putin has a lot of capability at his disposal right now. As I've said earlier, they are ready to go. And number two, if he decides to conduct a full-scale invasion here, again, bigger than what we've seen in just the last few days, this will be a war of choice. That he'll be doing so with, with diplomacy and options still left on the table. And it won't be bloodless. There will be suffering, there will be sacrifice. And all of that must and should be laid at his feet, because he's doing this by choice. How he does this, when he does this, we don't know for sure. But if he does this, this will be a war of choice and totally
Our cyber fleet,
unnecessary.
what?
And as for the impact on the region,
For the record, we still hold the record for most nukes lost too. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Korean allies, and we noted that the South Koreans also came out publicly yesterday with a statement of support for Ukraine. That was certainly noticed by the whole international community.
Yes, you fucking heard. Did I stutter? Yes, I said lost. Nuclear warheads lost. Okay. Another fun fact. I think like some Greenpeace activists or like anti-war activists literally broke into a military base. Obviously, they don't have the fucking keys to launch them, but like they were able to literally go to the area where you could launch. Like just random normies, like not fucking, the espionage, statecraft Andes. Like I'm talking like fucking grandmas, anti-war grandmas. Notoriously bad.
Command hack. I don't know of any changes to that.
I love when I say something and then someone Googles it and they're like, holy fuck, he wasn't making that up. It's my favorite fucking thing. Yeah, Google it, dude. Fitbit, U.S. military base. Google, I think Iranians were able to fucking steal a boatload of information by just giving free USBs out at a fucking conference. All the dummies were like, oh, free USB. Click, put it in your fucking computer. Oh, no.
To continue to have them. So this will be a constant discussion with each host nation that they end
that's
up in,
2013 is when the nuns broke into what the media calls Fort Knox of nuclear weapons in Oak Ridge.
Opportunities are going to conduct. This is really all about reassuring allies and partners and demonstrating that in tangible ways. On your, I lost your third question. Dang it.
Rapid response force.
Oh, that's a better question for NATO, Abraham. That's not a question for the United States. That'll be up to the NAC to decide, North Atlantic Council to decide, not just the United States unilaterally, of course. What I will tell you is that as you know, the Secretary has put on a shorter alert tether our contributions to the NRF, the NATO Response Force, so they are more ready to go if called upon. So while I can't give you any sorts of timing or certainty about whether the NRF is going to be activated, what I can tell you with certainty if it is, our contributions to the NRF will be ready to go and will contribute fully.
But they're still in the United States, correct?
Correct. Yeah, Tony.
Is there much discussion within the Pentagon or within the National Security Council about whether all of Putin's maneuvers and the force buildup is a grand game of brinksmanship, and he's got no intention of invading? He just wants to show his muscle, get the U.S. and NATO to commit to not letting Ukraine into the alliance. In other words, a game of brinksmanship, bluffing, but not really an intent to invade.
We have seen no indication of that, Tony.
But let me ask you this.
Wait, what do you mean? Other than what he's literally said?
Assuming he's going to do this? Or have you actually skeptically look at whether this is just...
We have no indication of that other than what Vladimir Putin has said. But obviously, Vladimir Putin is an unreliable orator. Clearly, we should not listen.
Allies and partners, 4 months. The Secretary was just in Brussels last week meeting with all his counterparts in the alliance. It's not just the United States who is deeply concerned about the potential for war in Ukraine now. That other NATO allies feel the same way. We've all been looking at this. I hope, we all hope that we're wrong about this. But every indication we have is that he is poised to attack Ukraine again, and this time with what could be significant military force. I mean, we are talking about more than 150,000 troops that he has arrayed against that border. As I said earlier, we believe that they are now at a state of readiness where they could attack at any time. That's what we're seeing. And that's what we've been saying. We've been talking about this very openly.
I've said this already, and I will repeat it one more time, okay? Have a fucking, have a conversation, a negotiation with Russia, okay, where you ask them to withdraw their troops, you demobilize near the Ukrainian border, and you give in writing it promises that Ukraine does not join NATO. Okay. Hasan, it's not that easy. Well, it is that easy. It's literally that easy. This could have happened last month. Don't say they already tried, bro. This literally could have happened last month. The only reason why it hasn't been able to de-escalate up until last month is because America keeps fucking up the talks. It's just like people love saying this. And by the way, it's not that easy. I am old enough to know that the Taliban originally also made conditional agreements on giving Osama bin Laden to the United States. And George W. Bush famously said, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Okay. And that was used as a reason to fucking invade Afghanistan. So it's so fucking stupid to have this conversation over and over again when America is always the one that refuses to fucking come to the table. Okay? Ukraine wanting to join NATO is completely insignificant because Germany will never allow Ukraine to join NATO. And even America, I don't think, will allow Ukraine to join NATO for what is happening to Ukraine currently. Okay? They're just dangling NATO in front of Ukraine and giving them guns and giving them weapons and saying like, oh, go off kings, go off kings. Meanwhile, Ukraine isn't even, in my opinion, and this goes against exactly what, this goes against what like leftists who are a little bit too much simping for Vladimir Putin will get mad at me for saying this. But I do think that like, I do think that Ukraine is less aggressive than the way that the Russian media fucking portrays Ukraine to be, especially right now. Why in the ever-loving fuck would Ukraine straight up fight in those territories in Donbass when there are 200,000 fucking troops, some of which have almost direct access to Kiev if they want to from the northern border? Okay? It's like strategically the worst time to fucking actually engage in aggressive action, which is why I'm saying if there's like any sort of serious fucking explosion or any sort of serious like death or whatever the fuck that occurs within Russian controlled territories, okay, I would expect it to be at the hands of either like America-backed CIA trained fucking Azov battalion dickheads who do want to fucking escalate the conflict and tension, or I would expect it to be done as a false flag operation. If Russia wants to further encroach within Ukraine and say, hey, we need to shore up our borders, we need to defend the Russian citizens, the Russian individuals that we gave passports to not that long ago, that are living in this territory. Okay? Why should countries ask Russia if they want to join NATO when Russia wants USSR back? NATO, unfortunately, necessary. Okay, dude. I can't have this conversation over and over again with motherfuckers who are like, dude, Russia definitely wants USSR back. They're going to get USSR back. What countries want and what they can do is entirely separate conversations. I mean, dude, every Eastern Bloc fan of mine has understandably this like irrational fear of Russia doing whatever the fuck it wants and like rebuilding the USSR or some shit. But remember, I want to point this out. What I suspect will end up happening is Russia will further encroach into areas if like an actual invasion in the way that you understand it with like death and like, you know, active fucking military members fighting one another. If the closest thing to that, the closest you'll ever get to that is potentially Russia further moving into the rest of Donbass and not necessarily just the Russian separatist controlled territories as they are currently inside of. Kremlin says the heads of DPR and LPR asked Putin to help repel the aggression of Ukrainian armed forces in order to avoid civilian casualties and a humanitarian disaster in Donbass. This is legitimately worrying. Like this is like way more worrying and way more troubling than what fucking the American government is saying about like Kiev this, Kiev that. Okay? It's worrying, but it's predictable. But it's still worrying. So just like Georgia and no one cares about that? Exactly. That's why I kept saying it's just like, that's why I said it's similar to Georgia. I already talked about this in the beginning. I already talked about this in the beginning of the broadcast. I'm not going to repeat it again, but what I feel like is going to happen, what I feel like is going to happen in this situation, and Ukraine has been restrained for the record. I do agree with that so far. What I do believe is going on, or what I do believe will happen is potentially Putin taking further, like Putin escalating tensions into Ukrainian-controlled territory, Ukrainian-controlled parts of the Donbass region, and full-blown taking it over or trying to take it over, which will lead to active war. Which will lead to active fucking war, like actual war, not like what we've seen so far, but like legitimate fucking war in that region. And then Russia will further take additional territories, or Russia will go into another area, and then everyone will hyper-focus on that other area, and then no one will give a shit about Donbass anymore, in the same way that no one gives a shit about Georgia. Even you know that's true? What? Even I know what? Even you're fighting against yourself, but I'm not the problem? What? Even you know that's not true? That's the problem? Wait. Okay. Strange. Why wouldn't they just invade earlier? Because now everyone's more prep for war / gen. That executive director, false flag operations. Okay. We'll wait for this. We'll wait for this. I don't want to hear it from OSINT Twitter. Okay, open source intelligence Twitter. But now people are claiming that there will be a false flag operation in Crimea. There was evacuations that occurred at the Titan chemical plant in Armyansk, and now they're saying that could be a false flag operation in an effort to justify further going into Ukrainian-controlled areas, Ukrainian-controlled territories in Donbass. Okay?
Jim.
John, you talked about to build on Sylvie's question, you talked about the F-35s and I guess 32 Apaches. Well, it's not just an aircraft and a pilot. How many people are associated with those moves?
All told, if you added up,
According to reports, we would totally not frame Russia. Dog, come on. Come on, dude. Okay, look, man. I understand the realpolitik and the genuine interest that Vladimir Putin has in like defending its own fucking regional sovereignty. But if you think that they're above fucking doing false flag operations, they're not. America does it all the fucking time, and Russia does it too. Get the fuck out of here. Of course they would do that. That's crazy. That's crazy to fucking say that like Russia would not do that. I mean, come on. Come the fuck on, dude. Like, anyway.
Is more appropriately General Milley's counterpart, but I can't imagine that there would be a reason why, if General Walters wanted to speak to him, that he couldn't in his NATO hat. Yeah.
John, based on, given the fact that Russians have brought a variety of capabilities to the area, including cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, do you still think that the arms provided by the United States would help Ukrainians to defend themselves against all these capabilities? Because
we are providing, again, lethal and non-lethal assistance to Ukraine. They've expressed their gratitude for that assistance. I would remind you that, well, a couple of things, $650 million just this year alone, and we're still in discussions with them about what kind of support they might need going forward. And we're in constant consultation with them about their needs and what we can provide. It's not just us. That's my second point. Other nations are as well, stepping up to provide both lethal and non-lethal assistance to Ukraine.
Lethal and non-lethal assistance.
Phones here. I haven't done that yet. Let's see.
Yeah, get the phones going. Get the phones going, dude. Is it still happening because Russia doesn't want to allow Ukraine to join NATO? It's not just that. It's two separate components. The NATO fears are, one, in my opinion, legitimate, and it's definitely a very real reason. But the other component is the Minsk agreement. Okay, and now, and this is technically something that the Ukrainian leadership did not want either. This is now it looks like Russia is violating it by sending troops into the Donbas region, even if it is on the Russian-controlled parts, officially putting boots on the ground within Ukrainian borders. Okay, but as far as the Minsk agreement goes, okay, and it's completely a violation of that now. It's like an official violation of this, rather than just like the baby shelling that goes back and forth between the Ukrainian National Guard and the Russian separatist forces that are backed by the Russian government. This is like an official end to that, okay? It is an official end to that. NATO legitimate? I think, yes, NATO fears are legitimate. I do think that. So you are defending Putin and basically saying he's the good guy and the invasion is almost as good as the top of the hour ad break? You should be ashamed of yourself. I feel violated. I feel absolutely fucking violated. Okay, I do not like this. You're taking my joy away. At the top of the hour, there's a 6-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. You just violated my Minsk agreement, okay? And I was not party to it. And you fucking violated. You violated me. You just invaded me. But if you don't want the ad break to invade you, you can actually get some lethal aid in the form of a $5 a month subscription, or potentially in the form of a Twitch Prime subscription for free if you don't have $5 a month to spend on a Twitch Twitch subscription. That's right. For free $99 with a pre-existing Amazon Prime account connected to your Twitch account, you can just avoid the top of the hour ad breaks. Or if you're a good boy, maybe you can get lucky and get gifted a sub. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. Okay. Putin has made it clear he does not agree with the idea of a Ukrainian sovereignty. I'm not a fan of Putin, but the only force capable of stopping him is NATO intervention or brutal sanctions on its people, not just oligarchs. These are horrible options, and Ukraine would be better under Russia than the U.S. Wait, what? No, it's not. No. It's not that Putin is not in line with Ukrainian sovereignty. When he talked about decommunization, or however you say it, and Ukraine's betrayal to Lenin, being a bunch of fake friends to Lenin, okay? What he was, and then literally said, "I'll show you decommunization," okay? That was more so Ukraine's step towards exclusively partnering with the West and moving away from partnering with Russia, making it impossible or completely almost putting an end to any sort of partnership with Russia in the future, down the line, whatsoever, which would understandably and obviously harm any sort of fucking sovereignty or any sort of territorial integrity that Russia would want to have. Okay? This doesn't change the reality that, like, what he is doing is further encroaching in. Tankies were so confused at this speech. Dude, Ban Evasion Andy number 4. You have to be fucking stupid if you think that, like, Vladimir Putin was ever a communist or a socialist or anything like that. He is not. He is literally a fucking hyper-capitalist kleptocrat oligarch. He is very much an invention of the West sacking the post-USSR Russia. Like, he was built and created as a capitalist puppet. Okay? Of course he's, like, not fucking pro-communist. There's never been a communist, and he will never be a communist. That bit about decommunization is also a Russian dog whistle, though. You heard the last thing you heard the thing you just described. People in Russia heard something with a bit of extra flavor. Yeah, I mean, that's why he also said, "I'm calling upon all the nationalist forces of Russia, all the Russian patriots will understand and agree with me on this." Okay? Where my Russian nationalists at? Am I right? Also, he was literally dissing Lenin and dissing Stalin in that entire speech. What he's talking about there is not about decommunization, okay? What he's talking about there is Ukraine partnering up and, like, officially moving towards aligning themselves with the Western world, no matter what the fucking cost is, no matter what will no matter what will happen to their economy as a consequence of that, rather than, like, actually ruining the remnants of communism in Ukraine or whatever the fuck. Okay, that has nothing to do with, like, actual decommunization, because he, in the speech prior to that, shit on Lenin and Stalin. So why the fuck would he care about decommunization? It's not about decommunization. Putin was literally a communist, though. Yeah, totally. He's a total communist. I will show you decommunization. He meant territories, what was given to Ukrainian SSR by... Yes, I know. I know what he's saying. He's saying not Kiev, but he's basically stating, like, oh yeah, you want to fucking... You want to shit on Lenin's legacy? Okay. Well, then I'll take over the fucking parts that Lenin offered to you. That was a big mistake. That's the take there. Okay? That's the main point that he was making there, which is like, we will take all of the fucking... You're talking to a straight pro-Stalin Marxist-Leninist. Saw many of my MLs blindsided by the realization that Putin is super anti-communist. There's a legit but bigger contingent of online MLs. What? You just said you're like a Stalinist, dude. What the fuck? Anyway. What is the Russian Communist Party up to nowadays? Are they gaining or losing support? I don't fucking... Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anything and everything that happens in Russia is completely in control and done by Vladimir Putin. Anyway. The reason why Marxist-Leninists or people on the internet are functionally on Putin's side or whatever the fuck, okay? The reason why they have this sort of approach, this sort of fucking take, seemingly, is not because they genuinely and legitimately love Vladimir Putin or anything, but usually they offer critical support because they see it as a counterbalance, a counterweight to American imperialism, and that's it.